I just want to say, Keith, I'll speak for everyone on the panel because I've known all of you for many, many years, that your lived experience is what should inform public policy in the city of New York. And it's really a pleasure that you're here, and I hope we remain connected. You speak like a true child advocate, and so it's really a pleasure that you're here. So my first question is going to go to Commissioner Richter. So, Ron, while the goal for most children in foster care is to leave foster care to a family, be it through reunification or adoption, we know that this doesn't turn out to be possible for all youth. And when foster care agencies are preparing these youth to transition out of foster care, in your view, what skills and connections do you think that they should ensure youth have beforehand? And how should foster care agencies do this?
Okay. So I'm going to start out with something that Keith said that I think is, at the heart of whether our foster care agencies can, in fact, work productively with kids. And I am 48 years old, and Keith is how old?
25.
25. So he's a kid. And for any of you who have kids, I think that in the social sciences or in child and adolescent development, you actually don't become an adult until you're how old?
I think the brain continues to develop until the age of 25.
Right, so you're done. basically, it is astounding. And Keith said, he painted a picture and then he said, is the official going to believe the caseworker or the kid? And I hear this from so many young people. And the answer from the young person always is they're going to believe the caseworker. And I guess I want to say from the commissioners of ACS's perspective, I also talk to a lot of caseworkers. And it is a dynamic relationship between the young person and the caseworker. And I will say that I have met the most extraordinary caseworkers. And as a judge, I saw great foster parents. And I am, for anyone who knows me, having spent 14 years as a children's lawyer, I am always taken by the young people because that's why we do this work. But it's a very complicated, relationship. And I always talk about Rashomon, that movie, where it's all about your perception of the world. So, a young person is an adolescent and experiences things very, dynamically. Things go on in their lives and they see things, and a caseworker has this, in some ways, regimented perspective based on a case record that they have to follow and do things a certain way, and it's not a great system in terms of how we want to foster relationships between foster parents, staff, young people, and that's something to think about changing in order for our agencies to be able to do the kind of work that we want to do to help prepare young people to be successful. But I want to say that what Keith described is a real challenge for us, which is we want to affirm young people's experiences, and we want our agency case planners to feel safe affirming our young people's experiences and not feel defensive about doing that. So I think what he said is critical to making our agencies support kids. So for us, we have started what is called the Housing Academy Collaborative, directly to answer your question at ACS, which is an effort to identify young people starting at age 16 who are going to need housing so that they can be prepared through a 4-course program to be successful in either supportive housing or NYCHA housing or any housing. The reason we started the Housing Collaborative, and we've just graduated our first class, is because we have heard from those who provide supportive housing and from NYCHA that our young people, as compared to others, meaning young people from the foster care system, really struggle with maintaining their housing. And so we thought to supplement our 32 foster care agencies and the work that they're doing, we would provide some very direct guidance to young people about maintaining housing. And And so we have now created this collaborative that includes providing guidance on completing applications for various kinds of supportive housing, learning key techniques to improving interview skills, learning how to locate jobs through a number of online resources to sustain housing, identifying career goals and harnessing strengths, negotiating with creditors and exploring landlord and tenant rights so that folks have familiarity with what a lease is, how to pay rent, how to be respectful of neighbors. A lot of us in our first apartment didn't understand that, things as simple as blasting your music at midnight is going to create problems with your landlord and with your neighbors. We also addressed soft skills, such as grocery shopping on a regular basis, filling out prescriptions at a pharmacy, doing things that, believe it or not, some of our foster kids, when they leave us at 20, have never done for themselves, regulating things like taking medication. And so we have undertaken this, and we are also in this housing collaborative really pushing the notion that our kids should feel empowered to take control of their own lives, especially with respect to continuing education. And so I'll stop there because I know my time is up, and I'll talk more about other things as I go on. I want to say we've had support from organizations like Year Up with our housing collaborative, and we're excited to do this. And we graduated how many people?
22 in the first class and 23 last week.
Okay.
So like 50 classes.
So we graduated 2 classes, yeah. So we're very excited about this, and most importantly, the young people are coming and very enthusiastic. So this is a good start.
What role do you think families of homeless youth and other adults can play in helping to promote connections and housing stability for youth? And how do you see the city's runaway homeless youth providers facilitating this?
Sure. One thing that I also wanted to pick up from Keith's remarks was the desire to just, basically, it's not that complicated. You just kind of want the experiences and the normalcy that other people and other families have. And so I thought it was would also be helpful to talk about some of the values that permeate the programming that we do. One is, and I think I mentioned this before, meeting the young people where they're at. So not expecting that, they'll find us through some bureaucratic maze, but actually going out to the pier, actually going to Jackson Heights, actually going to Hunts Point, where we know young people congregate, and finding them. And sometimes it's not to say, are you ready for shelter? It's to say, what are you ready for, and what would you like to see happen today? And it could be, I need a sandwich. It could be, I need an 800 number to facilitate any number of things. Could be a health matter, could be an HIV test. It could be a crisis shelter, of course. But to really have that first conversation and open the door and leave that door open, because it may not be on that first try that we connect with a young person. Also to reinforce that we're in the business of kind of providing opportunities. And again, it could be some of those concrete things. So in our drop-in centers, it could be a shower and a meal. But we're also going to have counselors there that are going to, again, explore what the young people want, what their long-term goals are, make an assessment, and so on. And then the last and probably most important one is having a welcoming environment. For some of our LGBTQ youth, it may be that who they have chosen to love is contrary to the family's religious beliefs. For some of our Orthodox families, they need to know that there is a shelter that provides kosher food. For some of our parenting teens, it needs to be not only youth-friendly, but baby-friendly. So all of these are, again, the way that we approach the facilities and the programming that we do in a very non-judgmental way. We make sure that our staff are trained accordingly in anything from LGBTQ sensitivity, but we also want to know other mental health issues as well. Part of our values, and I have to admit we have evolved in this, is trying harder to connect our young people with family. I think, and I will take responsibility for this, but I think in many of our programs, and not encouraged to do otherwise by government, some of our programs had the sense, well, the families are dysfunctional, so we really shouldn't explore that angle. Well, I'm here to say, what family isn't dysfunctional, right? Sorry, Mom, but, really, all of us can think of somebody who is, not as together as they should be. But the fact is that it's very normal for any of our kids to want to be connected with their families. And the fact is that they do connect. We have looked at this, researchers have looked at this. They are emailing their family. They are on Facebook with their family. They are texting their families. They are connected. And it may not be their birth mother and birth father. It may be an aunt. It may be a grandmother. It may be a cousin. But they are looking for this, and we should be doing a better job, and I say we, taking responsibility for that, of making sure that that is part of our expectation in our contracts, in our RFPs. And if for no other reason, the research really bears out that to the extent that our young people are connected with family, the outcomes are stronger. And I know that Commissioner Richter would agree with me as well. We wanted to test this out in a pilot, and so in 2011, almost a year actually ago, we launched the Family Therapy Intervention Pilot, and we're doing that with SCO, and it provides therapy to LGBTQ youth and their families, and this is supported by private monies to really try to explore how we can provide the clinical support to these families and help them get through the issues of conflict in a better way, in a way that's healthy for that young person, but also healthy for that family. We also built in an evaluation, and so we're looking at some of the recommendations. One of the things that the evaluator said to us is that this works better before the young person has left home. So we're going to look at how we can do this in our preventive services. The second thing is that it's not only one issue, it's many issues that our families are involved with. So we would do well to begin to address the child care issue, the jobless issue, and the other issues because it's all wrapped up in one. And then the third thing is that our providers and our staff needed better tools around resolving family conflict and mediation, and we needed to provide that to the staff who are on the front lines, and to facilitate things like, movie night, science night, fitness night that family members can participate in. Thank you.